Gotta grab my foot. You like that, don't you? Oh man. Why are you running? I'm just testing it. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's not flat. Neither's. That's better. No, that's off. Even the building's not flat. I'm gonna say this. When I put the compass down between me, it veers off north 40, 30, 35 degrees. Now, when I bring it up from between me to in front of me, it goes back north. Back north. Yeah, like my mohawk. That's from laying it down. It's a big, believe me, it's a big curly poof. So north is right here, way I do my thing. Then when I put it close to me, it goes just a little bit that way, but when I put it down between my legs, it goes true 30 degrees off. Now up here, it's not that much radon or anything. It's the bottom, your feet, the root of you. Now, if I put it close to my head, it's still doing the same thing. I take it away, and it goes true north. I put it close to my head, I can see it moving. It's moving this way, it's moving this way. I take it away, and then it starts to go back north. Now I take it a little farther away, and we're back flat, flat, flat. Now we're back north. Now we're back on north. Now I bring it close, and it's starting to go away. I bring it down. See, now I'm bringing it low, and it's going off, off, off. Oh, whoa! It just spun. I mean, I got. All right, all right. Let me take it off. I'm gonna lower it. I'm gonna show you. I want y'all to see this. It's a little cloudy right here, but it's not too bad. All right, let me show you. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right, you see the little wires, more get up and everything, right? Now, all right, just put it back on north. Well, the phone I know is going to do its part too anyway. So I'm going to bring it down. Oh, look at that. Look at that. You see that? You see how it jumped? Way over that way? North is going that way. Yeah, I'm not playing, y'all. Yeah. I got the vacuum up here. I got a vacuum, so I got things everywhere. So don't mind me. I'm going to the gun range. My boy Matt messaged me and says, "Yo, be ready tomorrow." So I've got everything. I got my Desert Storm boots, my original Desert Storm boots. Stuff up on my bed. This is the new mag I bought for my 22. I got two of them. I got the long one, I got the short one. Bought the way they were built. Hold on. That's charged up. Good. That's charged up. My Dremel. I need that for something. These are 1991 Desert boots. Still got blood on them. Can't get the blood out. These are the original, my original Dubai, you know, the whole shebang. Put that over there later. And charge my Dremel up, because I got to do some work. And I had to go and check my welder, make sure that I had to buy some more welding rods to do some things. That goes in first. Very good Dremel. Very good. I've had it for about 4 years. Excuse me. He's in a lot of my models, but it works on a lot of other things. Is that pretty weird? That's pretty weird, right? That's pretty weird. Okay. Alexander, what are you doing? Get away from the wires. You is weird, bro. All right, so first I want to talk about Utah. Y'all gonna love this. You know, I always say if you're gonna lie, make sure that the lie is resilient. Make sure it sticks. Make sure that it stands, okay? Yeah, all the way around, baby. Make sure that it stands. Make sure that it lasts the time of the lie. Okay? A lot of y'all know about, well, nobody knew about it until I shared it, Negro Bill Canyon. There's also Negro Mountain, not Negro Mountain, which they don't ever talk about in Park. Cashapp, Utah is where Negro Bill Canyon is. Cashapp. Now, what is troubling to me is they say recently they found, and I'm going to show you some pictures that I have. I have to scroll down quite a bit. A mummy, 12,000 years ago. Now, TikTok and a few other people got this thing wrapped up in this beautiful ass pale white linen with all this cartouche and ceremonial symbolic bullshittery all over it. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear, okay, people? Now, I'm going to go ahead. Archaeologists. First of all, you know who archaeologists are, right? Usually they're Chinese, French, Dutch, and all the same people in Spanish that conquered the land. Well, I wasn't surprised because having this photo that I shared, about 12 years ago on Facebook, nobody paid attention to. This is a figure from 1904, a picture that goes back as far as the cliff dwellers to fit the narrative of Native Americans, which is pure bullshit because the word Utah, they say, comes from the Ute Indians. Then they say from the Apache. Well, we know James Brown and his mom is Apache. I don't know that much about James Brown's father. And there's a few other actors and singers from back then who are Apache, who are Negro. Negro is a wayward term that I'm using loosely. Then they talk about that idiot, the Mormons, that idiot group. Well, they went out there to create one of the most racist dichotomies you ever saw and to be the hiders of history. No, that's a reality. Now, this picture I'm going to show you is a sun-dried mummy, one of the prehistoric cliff dwellers, just as it was found in a cliff ruin in southern Utah. It's always southern Utah. I like going to Cashapp, Moab, all them places, you know. This is the same figure you're going to see that's beside it from 15 to 16. Now, you tell me the ethnicity of this, and you know what, you natives and you, don't even try this bullshit, because this is a Negro in and out. This ain't a Mongol or Mongolian. Your mouths are mushed back, and the ones that stick out, y'all got, besides the ones getting braces now, where your teeth are actually in, and those are not shovel teeth. You tell me what you see. That's the real mummy, and it's older than some goddamn 12,000 years old. It's funny that you have to go and look it up to find out how old they want to carbon date it, to which we know carbon dating is bullshit. Look it up for those who don't. They've been debating it for so long. It's funny how they find something that works that don't work, and then they got to debate and argue amongst themselves. This is a motherfucking nigga. This is a goddamn Mayata. This is a kata. This is a nigga. Nothing but a straight up nigga. That is what that is. And they want to usurp every goddamn thing as if it's them. If that ain't my motherfucking forehead, my goddamn nose, and my motherfucking mouth, if that ain't looking like nighttime we buried, and a few motherfucking what we call abandoned apartments or abandoned home mummies in the basement that I have come upon when I was in East Orange and Newark. And then they wanted to say it's based on the term of Algonquin. So what is it? Apache, Algonquin. They want to say Algonquin, they always want to put them in Canada. We forget about the Trail of Tears, which is fictional, was several different routes. And them motherfuckers up there, when I had a book showing the original Eskimo, these little black motherfuckers like the Twas, like the pygmies of the Mississippis. It's funny how they want to eradicate that history. What did I say yesterday about if you want to create a new order, you must do away with what? The old order. What does the old order consist of? Everything. And they're systematic at it. They're systematic at it, and they're still doing it. And those who are comfortable living in a little lie while they're being killed off as well, instead of joining in with all this crayon color and ethnicity bullshit and races. Race, only things comply. I would consider races of people coming from other Earths. Yes, I believe there are other fucking Earths, just like this one, all around us, with membranes over them, because we were supposed to live a certain way here until something came. Sub-Saharan. The majority of that place they want to call Africa up there, Ethiopia. That dirt is not even indigenous there. You know they got something over 450 miles, a lake underground they say they found. I told you that was something catastrophic. And who will want a pyramid over there is those who have seen the pyramids destroyed to reassert their authority and power, right? The Anunnaki. But it wasn't working, so they had to do something cataclysmic. And they destroyed every goddamn thing. The buildings aren't easy to destroy. And I told you, if you take hemp and you take seashells and all that and boil it down or set it in fire, and then you take that little white stuff, break it up into a powder, and you mix it with a certain red clay and all that stuff, you can have one of the most strongest heat-resistant bricks or materials that is simple. Not complicated with science and all that other bullshitivity. Now that's a dried up motherfucker. That's nothing but pure nuh. Nothing but pure goddamn nuh. Hello. Welcome home. Now, The word Utah, we know, is Utah. Because there are structures and things that have been destroyed systematically by the government, blown up, decimated, and plenty of cities under tons of fucking mud. You ride through there, you will see structures, you'll sit there and go, that got to be a pyramid. And your sense, because it is so corrupted, will deny it, will deny what you see. And then you will see caverns that you want to go to, but what do? They give it out to this little goofy family and they say, that's your land. And put a fence there. So you can't go back in those crevices. So you can't go back there and your sense reconnect you to things that are hidden from them. That's why they're all over the place with all these foreigners on our soil, digging shit up. Footprints, you know, there's hundreds of fucking thousands of footprints over there in the salt flats, right? In Utah, salt flats, where they race. Where it looks like a mirror when it rains, you know. They're digging up, making concrete, all these foreign little pale-skinned motherfuckers and Asians and shit. They know exactly who the fuck we are, but you. I am grateful for all the brothers of other denominations who are starting to speak up and speak the truth. But I think too far, too motherfucking late. No, I'm not saying there weren't no pale-skinned mummies. Now, don't get it fucked up. There's many Negro mummies with long hair. Tanned, if you want to say it, call it. Because you know they always get a mummy. And look at the dreads, it's straight. This seems like I got to take you to Andrews Islands. I got to take you to all over the fucking world to show you niggas dark as midnight with straight hair and motherfucking blue eyes and blonde. Because some people here are just stupid. This has been a big ass experiment, y'all. And we ain't supposed to be part of it. But because we got so many dumb Negroes who don't know no better, they'll sit there. I'm an African American. I feel like I wanted to do this Bill of Rights song. You remember from back in the 60s and shit? I'm just an ordinary Bill. I'm just an ordinary nigga. Bill, nigga, same thing. I wanted to keep it as simple as possible because I wanted to read. And I'm not hungry. Now, I'm not going to eat. I'm going to drink my water and lemon, though. I might get a cramp, and I'll have to. I will partake of a real a potassium pill if I got to. But the whole point is to fight, breathe, and fight through it until the body acclimates. Depends on how hard the cramp is. I'm maintaining, people. It's a mother. I wish there was many of y'all around me or around y'all, and we could all do it together. Be words of comfort and soothing. To be distracted by somebody with a little more energy. So, if that ain't a nigga, pygmy, twa. That's Peru. If he don't look like he want to get out and play the harmonica, look at him goddamn big ass mouth. And they'll say, yeah, but the Africans came here because they're too stupid. Yeah, y'all came here. You know, they always want to say, when the Spanish, wait a minute, didn't they fight all the Khalifas on the island of California? The Queen Khalifa? And now they admit to this shit. But they also want to sit there talking about being helped with the Moors. Wait. The Moors are the ones that came by way of Dutch and Spaniards together and Portuguese together to conquer all that in Louisiana, stretched all the way up to California, where they want to call goddamn Colorado and Washington and Oregon. And the French want to claim Louisiana. Like that's their name. When that term is Yamasee. And it's not even pronounced Louisiana. This is the thing that's troublesome. It may be even more different than that. But I'm only pointing these things out. Somebody asked me to, and I said I would. I want to keep it as simple as possible. Just like people have a hard time believing that this could be Nikola Tesla. But they'll hold on. You can see I got a ton of shit here. But they'll accept, and this is him when he's old, all sunburnt, bitten and everything. But they want to believe that 3 different versions, that, well, you know who that nigga is right there, 3 different versions of Nikola Tesla is that motherfucker. Do you see what I'm talking about? They can't even lie right. So you want to believe it's the Ute Indians or the Spanish? There's a Spanish word that's based on water that could be a derivative. They ain't got a goddamn thing to do with it because that's pure bullshit. Or Apache or Algonquin, which Algonquin was a Mississippian Indian. How the fuck did it become a Canadian Indian? Oh yeah, well I know. Because we go to Alaska, we got a bunch of niggas that don't know no better from everywhere around over here. 55 miles from Russia. And there's landmass also out there that you can't even see on the map. Now I looked, and there's a couple of books I could purchase. I just don't have enough to get these books. Based on the landmass of America and everything, but I have sketches of America, the old world and all that, and some other books. I would like to have 20 books based on just the history of this fake ass America, just to be able to pull the puzzle pieces together, because it's all there. These motherfuckers have been lying non-stop. And all the idiot paleskins, who I want to consider my brother, are still rambling along, running along because they belong to some freaky deaky secret society, or they took an oath, or they could get killed or put to sleep. You'd be better off to be put to sleep, knowing how it's going to end, or how it could end, either way, than to continue lying. Thankfully, there are people out there telling the truth who go against the system. I'm not going to call it, people might say academia and this, that. Academia is bullshit. I've stricken that term from my language. So there you have it. Yuda? Yeah, pretty much. Not no goddamn religion and all that other shit. You want to talk about Megiddo, Moab? Why is Moab in the Bible? In the original Quranic verses. Why does everything got to be everywhere else? Because everything was everywhere. We were all one fucking world, one nation, one people. Harmony, loving, fun, protecting, and we fell. Destruction of a major source will do that. You want to talk about Babylon? We're in Mystery Babylon now. So calamity was the only thing that can destroy and spread us all over the place. Isn't that kind of a funny thing for the scribes to know that and to incorporate it into religion? I wasn't joking about these motherfuckers don't know what the goddamn ancient Hebraic language is. These Jews, these converts, the ones who practice and walk it, and the ones who know, and you've seen a few of them go off the chart saying, y'all are really the chosen people, and they were dead, and we're talking about thousands, and they were dead serious. Chosen meaning what? I don't know. I'm not here to talk about that. And then you have the niggas that don't know nothing. The Negroes. Aboriginal communities. About that merchandise, make a fiat. They've been doing it for a while. Some of them are helping the children. And some of them are breaking history down to stop the naysayers. That's not going to stop them. And the little goofy trolls and all of them, If you watch South Park, that's what a troll is. He wants to sit in front of a computer. Yeah. We'll do now. It's funny, You can't give that energy. You can't feed that energy at all. If people want to remain oblivious to whatever truth may be, and they want to be play stupid, whatever, that's them wanting to be there. You're not here to fix them. You're not here to make it right, whether they know it or not. Because I still see some of y'all posting how y'all told this one and that one. Like, what kind of ego is that? There's no benefit to be gained from that. How about instead of being so materialistic and worldly, worried about how you look, and start dealing with how you really look. And a lot of people look pretty stupid. So yes, it's our land. Always has been. But it belongs to everybody. Aren't we the most gratuitous, loving, welcoming fucking people there ever has been? Don't we even fight our own for other people? Did we get lost in translation somewhere? Somebody help me out. If you don't mind. I was getting some stuff together, as I was saying. I got shit all around me, literally. And I want to put it all up right now. Let's put that shit up. Yeah. Water and lemon, the vitamin C, I need it. Damn. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to this book, Arawak. I hope that was more than enough information. If you really need me to go in and get all retarded and everything, I can do that too. I don't feel like I really need to as far as the information. Plenty of information out there. And anybody that's been following me for a long time, or working with me, or being my family on here, know that I will tell you, research it. I just wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So, you can go to Indians, you can go to the Apache, the new breed ones. You can go to the Algonquins, the fake ones, or you can reach out. Because even Teliona Kwasa Yucade, brother, rest in peace, my apologies. Chief Darian Two Bears Ross, he knew it. Algonquin like my mother. Yes, and then Yohia, like the Cree of the Yamasee, all of them are Algonquin. All right. So anyway, let's get into this. Charles Rivers Editors. The Arawak, the history and legacy of the indigenous natives in South America and the Caribbean. What do they look like to you? And they got a bunch of them niggas now, and a lot of people Haiti and the Dominican Republic, or the ones that have been half wiped out, the ones really conquered. They don't know how to fucking act. Andrews Island, Jamaica, and they all want to claim Haile Selassie, that coward that ran away, worked for the motherfucking UN. Back then it was called something else. Come here and misguide our people working alongside motherfucking that sorry ass Marcus Garvey and Walter Plecker, all of them in the picture together, and John D. Rockefeller, all of them in the picture together. Look like niggas to me. Oh, and then they want you to believe that motherfuckers just decide to move and live in the mountains and well-built shit, not yurts and teepees. They didn't even exist. You can't even find no remains of that shit. They lived in the grand cities there. Utah. You see, welcome to Utah. What is in front of? A capital, just like motherfucker or every other state. And all the buildings that were destroyed there, they're buried on the ground. You can still see the shit sitting up on top of the ground and the mezzanines out there. It's all there. And then there's some structures you can't even tell, but you can look and see the holes look like they're windows. And those are buildings melted. I talked about swollen rocks, right? Where in a quick flash. And even places where you can walk underneath rocks and it's black. What would make the underneath of a fucking big ass so-called mountain mezzanine and caverns underneath black? Oh yeah, it's that simple. The tribes were burning wood, staying warm, and oh, shut the fuck up. It's all over the goddamn country world. What the fuck? It's everywhere in Russia, and it's everywhere. Something cataclysmic going. Heat at a lower level create that until it goes up. Shit was destroyed quick. T. The Arawak, the history and legacy of the indigenous natives in South America and the Caribbean by Charles Rivers, editors. An 1850 depiction of an Arawak village. 1850, you know what that was, right? Nobody was in the motherfucking big ass homes and buildings because we had lost the fucking war. Tartaria, that's why these idiots came in to destroy it. That's no TP to me. That looked like the roof to an old thatch house. In 1880, now we got an 1880 picture of Arawak natives. Now you know they got a little change going on, right? I want y'all to take a good look close, because you can see some of our people, but you can also see the admixture. But they look like people I know in Georgia, Louisiana. Not these tall, skinny, new soy baby motherfuckers. I got a motherfucker right in the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth in from my left. Look like my goddamn uncle, Reggie Lee. Right there. Vietnam vet. My uncle, Reggie Lee. Then my boy Abdul, right over here. From North Carolina. I'm going to show you him right here. My boy Abdul. Darnell Smith. Look exactly like him. Right there. Exactly like him. As soon as I arrived in the Indies on the first island which I found, I took some of the natives by force, in order that they might learn and might give me information of whatever there is in these parts. Christopher Colombo. On October 12th, 1492. It's funny, I got 1491 and 1493. Anywho, one of the most important first contacts of the modern era was made when 3 ships of Spanish origin approached the island archipelago, now known as the Bahamas. And we know there ain't nothing but niggas down there besides the Asians that have been moving in there since the 1940s or 50s. World War II. I don't bite my tongue saying that either. Just like Hawaii. Some old prompt up ass Japanese motherfucker being the president. The fuck out of here. Anyway, cautiously dropping anchor as the captain of the fleet gazed across to what he assumed was the coast of India. He knew where the fuck he was at. We already covered that in another book, right? According to the which we're still reading, popular version of the story. Amazed at the sight of ships and men of such unfamiliar appearance, the native people of the island plunged into the clear waters of the western Atlantic. They ain't clear now. Expertly swimming or abroad, dug out canoes and came out to greet the strangers. It's funny. You know what's funny? A lot of them don't know how to swim that well now. I wonder what that's, gentrification? Anyway, in all probability, the meaning was much more cautious and incremental. But the idea that these innocent people, raised in the tropical Eden, might embrace with such open enthusiasm their own destruction and picturesque, and no doubt appeals to contemporary perceptions by whatever means one might choose to view it. This meeting of cultures certainly did mark the beginning of a bold new chapter in the history of Europe, and the beginning of the end of an ancient race of native people occupying a vast new continent. The entries into Christopher Columbus, we know his name was Cristobal Colon, a nigger, a sellout, a traitor, a piece of shit, log as he recorded his first encounters with the indigenous people of the Indies, are very telling. The island people arrived alongside his ships offering humble gifts that Columbus described as only us, all welcoming and shit, as parrots and balls of cotton and spears and many other things, which they exchanged for the glass beads and hawks' bells. These were the Taino people, or the Arawaks, as they would come to be known, and Columbus described them as well-built, with good bodies and handsome features. And that picture showed a bunch of fat, weird-looking, skinny leg, not them tall motherfuckers that we know of in history. This description, that's how they fucked up in the 1880s and 90s. You know, the changeover. Perdition like a motherfucker. The description, while deceptively simple, had a chilling implication, because Columbus was not taking note of these facts out of idle interest, but in terms of how best to exploit them. As the natives offered up gifts and the open hand of friendship, and by implication, the freedom of their islands, Columbus remarked simply on their primitive appearance and primeval technology. Damn, I can't even get the word out, y'all. Oh, God. Primeval technology, and how easy they would be to overcome, he noted. They do not bear arms and do not know them, for I showed them a sword and they took it by the edge and cut themselves out of ignorance. We know that's a lie too. They have no iron, their spears are made of cane, and they would make fine servants. With 50 men, we could subjugate them all and make them do whatever we want. A sinister story because of a sinister ploy, but they had to demean the individuals as if they were nothing, so they were easy to subjugate, and we know that's not the case. They murdered a whole bunch of them sons of bitches. Now, and they remember, they had to send motherfuckers back to get a whole bunch of armies to come. What Columbus wanted in the first instance was gold, and he was quick to observe the small items of gold jewelry worn by his visitors, which alerted him immediately to the fact that there was gold to be found somewhere on these islands. To get to the bottom of it, Columbus would waste no time. Thus, a chain of events was set in motion that would permanently affect Western civilization. We had no need for jewelry or gold. It's pure bullshit. Only an enemy of man needed gold to mine, and man to mine it for whatever purpose, nefarious as it may be. The Arawak, the history and legacy of the indigenous natives in South America and the Caribbean, examines the culture and history of the indigenous groups and what happened when they came into contact with the Europeans. Along with pictures of important people, places, and events, you will learn about the Arawak like never before. The Arawak, the history and legacy of the indigenous natives in South America and the Caribbean. Let's get into the first counter. Columbus lands in the New World by L. Prang, 1893, and you know they had to make this fraud-ass painting of Columbus, and we all know what he looks like. You see how these motherfuckers are. The Santa Dominica and the Pina. Oh my goodness, these motherfuckers. Anyway, as soon as I arrived in the Indies on the first island which I found, I took some of the natives by force in order that they might learn and might give me information of whatever there is in these parts, as stated by Christopher Colon. Christopher Colon's enterprise of selling to the Indies emerged directly out of the cultural and economic environment he discovered in Lisbon, Portugal, as a young man. As John Noble Wilford has observed, ideas do not emerge in a vacuum. Even a man of his intuition, zeal, and self-assurance could not have conceived of such a scheme in a time much earlier or a place much different from Portugal in the late 15th century. That alludes to the fact that he didn't come up upon the Caribs by happenstance. Columbus' previous world had been that of the richly diverse but limited and fully charted Mediterranean. His world now was that of a country deeply engaged in the exploration and expansion. War. Millions upon millions of deaths. Bones in the Vatican. And many other places. Since the fall of Constantinople to the Ottomans, and we're reading that now, Ottomans heavily cut off European by way of Heschler, you know, the 13th tribe. Cut off European access to Asia via land. Portugal had begun to exploit its position at the edge of the Atlantic to set out to largely unmapped territories, in search of new routes. And we know that we have maps going back to the 1513 and even before that. It's so funny that he even produces not knowing. That's how you get caught up when you're part of working for the fake elites. Anyway, search of new routes, new resources, and ultimately a new path to the east that would circumvent the Ottoman blockade. But even prior to conceiving that goal, the Portuguese had been at the vanguard of oceanic exploration, and by the 1420s, had already arrived at established settlements on the Atlantic islands of Madeira and the Azores. The intellectual architect of Portuguese exploration was Prince Henry, the Navigator, who was motivated by religious zeal to send expeditions down the Atlantic coast of Africa, initially hoping to check Muslim power on the continent and make contact with Prester John. He was in South America, y'all. A legendary Christian king in Africa. He was a Christian. In parentheses, it states, the legend was probably a garbled version of the Christian kingdom of Ethiopia. And in the decades prior to Columbus arrival in Lisbon, Portuguese expeditions had pushed farther and farther southward down the West African coast, opening up new trade in gold, ivory, and African slaves along the way. By the 1450s, the goal of circumnavigating Africa to reach Asia had been conceived. Furthermore, the Portuguese were being strongly encouraged by the Catholic Church. In the 1450s, the Pope issued papal bulls promising Portugal that at least among Catholic nations, Portugal would be given a trade monopoly in lands they discovered in Africa. Aren't the American Negroes under the papal bull in America? Anywho, in Africa south of the Sahara. That was all the motivation the Portuguese needed. By then, the Portuguese had already sailed to Sierra Leone on the western coast of Africa, about half of the way down the continent, and in 1488, the Portuguese explorer Bartolomeu Dias, which we read about, became the first European to sail around the Cape of Good Hope, discovering, much to his amazement, that the Indian Ocean was connected to the Atlantic Ocean. One of the missions of Dias' expedition was to sail to India, which was a stated objective despite the fact the Portuguese did not realize they could sail around Africa to Asia. Dias did not reach India, but in 1497, Portugal's most famous explorer, Vasco da Gama, sailed around Cape Good Hope, sailed north up the eastern coast of Africa, and then sailed to Calcutta, India, arriving in 1498. I'm just looking at some books. Colomb would make his name by promoting a different route than that sought by the Portuguese. But the Portuguese explorers and traders had prepared the way for his ideas in several ways. First, the increasing confidence about long-distance sea travel, based in part on improved nautical technology and cartographical accuracy, made the notion of connecting distant regions by sea far more plausible than it had been even 100 years earlier. For much of the Middle Ages, it was assumed that any routes connecting Europe and Asia would be land routes. Medieval cartography had always shown the possibility of sea routes, since they show the three known continents of Europe, Asia, and Africa to be surrounded by a continuous body of water. But didn't I show a map in a book that showed something based upon the 13 to the 1500s of not even ice on the land surrounding us? The Vikings, the Shi, with biggest ships ever up until World War I and II. Ships so big, thousands of sailors. Anywho, now back to reading ahead. Three known continents when we went to the Arab Ocean, right? Surrounded by a body of water. But sea travel was regarded as far too dangerous and untested. The Portuguese explorations of the 15th century began to make this conviction look like an unfounded prejudice. Just as importantly, he became aware of the work of an Italian geographer based in Florence, Paolo Toscanelli, who, on the basis both of recent Portuguese reports and his prolonged studies of ancient cartography, calculated that the shortest route to Asia lay across the Atlantic. Columbus apparently became aware of Toscanelli through the Florentine scientist's correspondence with a Portuguese acquaintance, Fernão Martins. Columbus himself wrote to Toscanelli in the early 1480s, expressing enthusiasm for a westward route to the Indies and soliciting more details. Toscanelli was encouraging in his reply, but died soon after writing it, leaving Colomb to continue his calculations on his own. Atlantic Ocean, Toscanelli, 1474. It's a map here, y'all. Oceanus Occidentalis, that's like Occident. Clippenha, Cathay, Mangi, Guinea. So in his map, you can see America clearly. Alaska. Oh, hold on, let me make sure. Oh, Alaska. Then you have Tartar, Russia, a Cathay, Mangi, right? Fucking damn, that's different. Tuscanelli's map, which calculated Asia's position across the Atlantic. So they were saying America didn't exist, actually. They were saying that there was a piece of land out there, which would be South America, that existed with little islands, as if they didn't know. Somebody really fucked the pooch on this one. As Columbus' discussions with Tuscanelli and Tuscanelli's map make clear, the notion that Columbus discovered that the earth was round and had trouble finding... What? The notion that Columbus discovered that the earth was round and had trouble finding backers for his enterprise because most of his contemporaries believed he would fall off the edge of the flat earth. Now, in Flatlandis, we know that Columbus did not find that out. That's pure bullshit. We know that it was based all in theory, irrelevant, because it was a new people doing searches they were not privy to because the ancient ones hid all the materials, except for the things that would later be found. Believed he would fall off the edge of the flat earth is one of the most blatant falsehoods of the many myths that have come to surround his biography over the centuries. The spherical shape of the planet had been assumed by educated Europeans for nearly 2,000 years by the time Columbus arrived on the scene, which is a lie, and the groundwork for his enterprise had been laid by generations of geographers who worked with a relatively accurate picture not only of the earth's shape, but of its dimensions. And we know they're inserting this individual because he belongs to that Masonic order. Look him up. Columbus' true disagreement with many of his contemporaries had to do with a different question: the true circumference of the spherical earth and the relative amount of its surface covered by land and by water. Different geographers and cosmographers had come to different conclusions, even though the Greek astronomer Eratosthenes had in fact calculated the Earth's circumference quite accurately in the 3rd century BCE. He is making false, bold statements in his literature here. Remember, chew the fruit and spit out the seeds. In addition to the lack of imperial verification through circumnavigation, Eratosthenes' estimate had failed to become the consensus position because of confusion over the different systems and units of measurement used successfully by the Greeks, Romans, Arabs, and medieval Christians. Such confusion contributed to Columbus's calculation of a much shorter distance between the western tip of Europe and the eastern tip of Asia. If Europe is the western tip, and what is America? Baba Roshan, boy, I'm gonna smack you upside your head. When reading the estimates of medieval Arab cartographers, he took them to support the much smaller figure, when in fact they were simply working with a longer unit of measurement. Thus, the experts who ridiculed Columbus were far from being ignorant flat earthers, were actually working from highly accurate measurements and had good reason to believe that Columbus' expedition would run out of water and supplies before reaching Asia. They only lacked one important piece of information: there was another landmass between Europe and Asia. This fact would both foil Columbus' initial goal of reaching Asia and ultimately place a different set of tasks before him. It was only natural that Columbus would first, and this is keeping Tartary out of the navigation of truth because it was worldwide. Do you see how these Zionists fucked everything up? Anyway, exploration over the previous decades had been reaping increasing rewards from their African trade routes. He did so for the first time in 1485, and after an initial rejection, returned with a second proposal in 1488, which met with an even more definitive rejection. In addition, who was that, Queen Isabella? Anyway, in addition to the skepticism of King John II's official advisors, who correctly argued that Columbus' estimate of the distance to Asia was far too short, his plan was in competition with an alternative proposed route that would pass around the southern tip of Africa. This was clearly the safer option, and once the Portuguese navigator Bartholomew Diaz rounded the Cape of Good Hope and reached the Indian Ocean in 1488, Columbus's hope for Portuguese support was dashed. As it turned out, Columbus chose an auspicious moment to make his proposal to the so-called Catholic monarchs of Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella. There you go. The two had married in 1769, uniting several previously separate kingdoms on the Iberian Peninsula, and most importantly, the large kingdoms of Castile and Aragon. In the meantime, they had set out to reunite, I guess that's when they were killing the rest of the dragons, reunite the peninsula under a fervently Catholic monarchy, which involved ridding their territories of non-Christian subjects. These efforts would come to a head in 1492, with the conquest of the southern kingdom of Granada from its Muslim rulers and the expulsion of all Jews who refused to accept baptism. It was in this environment of territorial expansion, and we already know what baptism really meant. It has nothing to do with being baptized in Christianity. We're reading that now in the other books. Burgoying military and political confidence and evangelizing fervor that Columbus first brought his proposal to Spain, partly due to his interest in the Bible and partly due to the religious nature of his audience. The proposal to sail west to the Indies that Columbus made to Ferdinand and Isabella was based on his interpretation of the second book of Esdras, 2 Esdras chapter 6 verse 42, which Columbus interpreted as meaning the earth was comprised of 6 parts of land and land to 1 of water. Although the monarchs, on advice from their official cosmographers, rejected the Genoese mariners' plan once again. They also provided him with a certain amount of encouragement, offering him a stipend if he chose to stay in Spain. Clearly, although they were uncertain about the plan, they did not wish Columbus to sell his ideas to a rival power such as Portugal, whose maritime advantage, I was about to yawn and I couldn't. Powers such as Portugal, whose maritime advantage the Spanish royals were desperate to weaken. The depiction of Ferdinand and Isabella. One day when Ronald's. Can't make this shit up. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, man. And what was that? Somebody popped up. What was that? I failed modern world history because Ferdinand and Isabella literally didn't interest me. I had to do summer school in that subject because of that. Summer, 1989. Wow. They accepted the terms he had proposed to all of the governments he had courted. 3 ships to undertake the voyage, the title of Admiral of the Ocean Sea, the title of Viceroy of any new lands he might claim for the Spanish crown, and the right to 10% of any revenue generated as a result of the trip. He and the Spanish monarch signed their contract in the city of Cordoba, not far from the recently conquered Moorish capital of Granada. I've been to both of those places. From there, he set out towards the small port of Palos de la Frontera, where he began to gather supplies and recruit crewmen. Oh, yeah. Historians have long wondered why Columbus chose the small port with limited resources rather than the larger ports of Seville or Cadiz. One theory is that the resources in those 2 places were occupied with the thousands of Jewish refugees leaving Spain in the wake of the monarch's edict of expulsion. In any case, Columbus hired the best ships he could find in Palos, contracting two carvels called the Nina and the Pinta from the Pinzon family, and the third, which he called the Santa Maria, from cartographer Juan de la Cosa. Columbus referred to the Santa Maria as La Capitana, the flagship, and the Pinta was Spanish for the painted, and the Nina, Spanish for girl, was named after her owner, Juan Nino Almagua, and the real name of the Pinta is lost to history, while the Nina was actually named the Santa Clara. The 3 ships set out on August 3rd, 1492, following the northwest coast of Africa to the Canary Islands, from where he boldly struck out on a westerly course across the Atlantic. Though it's forgotten for the most part, the expedition There we go, a real one. The expedition worked with several advantages. First, they were able to stop for supplies in early September in the conveniently placed Canary Islands, the one archipelago off the coast of West Africa that belonged to Castile rather than Portugal, because the Portuguese crown had obtained papal guarantees of control over a large swath of the Atlantic seaboard, and Columbus and his men had to be careful to avoid territories controlled by the rival power, not least because he did not wish to reveal his intentions to potential competitors. The Canaries provided a critical stopover for the expedition. A second advantage, possibly, so these are all theories, possibly, but not certainly understood in advance by Columbus, were the trade winds blowing out of the east that prevailed as the ship sailed westward from the Canaries. The constant favorable wind allowed them to proceed at a brisk pace. So if they were sailing westwardly and looking for China, but he actually found America, what does it mean America is in the east, right? It's not the west. I'm just pointing out, and the fact that America is Asia superior should allude to some other things. Anyway, moreover, once they had proceeded some 300 leagues to the west of the Canary Islands, Columbus and his crew found themselves, to their surprise, in the midst of a highly pleasant temperate climate, which seemed to improve as they proceeded. However, despite those advantages, the voyage is better known for its more harrowing circumstances. Just days into the journey from Spain, the rudder of the Pinta broke, disabling the ship and largely leading Colum and his men to believe it had been sabotaged as a result of the fact the Pinta's owners and crew had not wanted the ship to be used in the journey. Columbus wrote of the incident in his journal, in parentheses it states, in which he refers to himself in the third person as admiral, and it was believed that this happened by the contrivance of Gomez Rascon and Christopher Quintero, who were on board the caravel, because they disliked the voyage. The admiral says he had found them in an unfavorable disposition before setting out. He was in much anxiety at not being able to afford any assistance in this case, however, but says that it somewhat quieted his apprehensions to know that Martin Alonso Pinzon, captain of the Pinta, was a man of courage and capacity. Now read this one and we'll be done for the moment. After fixing the Pinta in the Canaries, the voyage ran into more trouble shortly after leaving from that point. On September 8, 1492, Columbus noticed his compass needle was no longer pointing due north, instead varying a half point to the northwest and varying gradually further as the expedition continued. Columbus tried to keep this secret from the crew. That means they found magnetic rock, which sparked even more anxiety when his pilots took notice. Columbus insisted that the needle was simply pointing to some invisible point on the earth, and his reputation for knowing the stars allayed his crew's concerns. Unbeknownst to Columbus, his needle had started pointing to the earth's magnetic North Pole, something the Europeans knew nothing about. And we'll pick up the other part a little later on. I'm going to close this. It's time to go meditate, do my deep breathing for about 30 minutes. I got to get butt naked. Can't take y'all with me. And this is getting to be good. And look, I even put an arrow there just to remind me that that's where I'm going to pick up. Thank y'all for taking the time to listen to this old wise fool. It gets better. You got to remember, when you read books like this, all right, I'm going to share this with you, because some people don't know this. You have to go through First Encounters, the origins of the Arawaks, the Tainos, the Lesser Antilles, the Arawak diaspora, and the conclusion, and then all the resources and references and further readings. And there's many more books. Nobody's helping me, so I have to purchase them when I get the chance. I appreciate everything y'all do. I appreciate the donations still. I will always appreciate the donations, and I am grateful and thankful. And it's time for me to go strip, go in there, close the door, open the window so I can get very cold, and focus on my breathing. You dig what I'm saying? I'm going to give a shout out. Baba Rasha must have did a live, did a video. Anyway, let me give a shout out and read some of the marks so I can go ahead and get started. ABJR was cracking. Peace to you, brother. Rep, what's going on, mama? How you doing, honey? Hey, Mahola, what's going on, West Side? Mama Red, what's going on, girl? The perfect shot. What's going on, brother? He's Nagas. You goddamn right, man. Right. The term we're going to use loosely. That is why we need to grow it. Yes, teeth and all. You goddamn right. You saw that, right? Rep, couldn't have said it better with the old Omega head. I know that's right. Appreciate it, West Side. All these rules, regulations, inspections, setbacks on hemp, ridiculous. Setbacks on hemp, yes. Because they know why. It used to grow abundantly here. Oh, my, just like rice. Schoolhouse rock. There you go. That's our stuff. Ordinary bill on a Capitol Hill. I'm just an ordinary bill on Capitol. But we might as well say, and that's an ordinary nigga on sit in Capitol Hills on my back. Anyway, very, very old. The fuckery. You got that right. I agree. Put the ego energy into your health. Have your grills dealt. Dentist checkup. Be careful with them that they don't have you rinsing that fluoride. I every time I went to that, I would take the fluoride and throw it in the sink. I was like, don't give me that nonsense. Give me some baking soda and some turmeric and some coconut oil. And they go, oh, a lot of diseases come from having bad teeth. That'll bring you grief. Yeah, it will. Soy baby, mama, yes, soy babies. They lie as unconsciously and naturally as you and I breathe. Yes, that's right, brother. You got that right, perfect pure. You got that right. And lost their natural minds. Yes, they did. All of this is Eden. Everywhere it was Eden. Everywhere. Eden wasn't some small little place they've cornered off in religious dichotomy to keep everybody away from the truth so they wouldn't enlighten themselves. Why else do you think they, it's like that little dumb pale skin got the little TikTok and YouTube talking about there's no GMO fruit. That idiot. I remember when seedless grapes first came out, genetically modified. Everybody knew it. The news was talking about it. Everybody. But you got these skinny, pale or dark-skinned babies who think they know everything. Oh, they're being put to the test. Equator, add up. What's going on, mama? Peace and love to you too. Equator 7, peace and love to you too, huh? Equator 7, what's happening, brother? I'm going to do what I can, brother. Nobody fails anything. You can't fail a lie. I just want y'all to remember that. Because see, when we get that, when we say, regardless of the past, you didn't fail anything. Strike that word fail from your whole dichotomy. Remove that language. You know what I always tell people, always says, man, try and stand up. Nigga, how about attempt to stand up? Because if you try and you don't do it, what do? Now, see, if you attempt, you make an attempt. Valued attempt means that you can always go back again and make another attempt. There's no failing at anything. You can't fail the unknown. Hey, Rhonda, what's going on? Grand elevations, brother. Beloved ones. Yes, yes. I appreciate you, man. Much respect to all you guys. All you guys and gals in the chat. All you gals and guys. Put the ladies first. Ladies first. Ladies first. And we ain't got to have some lesbians singing this shit. Y'all done sent me back with Schoolhouse Rock. Anyway, it's time for me to until something gives or something goes. You dig what I'm saying? But man, respect, man. I love everybody coming in. I'm surprised that it will last for an hour, but I know I talked a good jib. It's cool. So my beloved sisters and to my brothers, y'all already know. And y'all share this. I appreciate it. Y'all have a grand day, and I'll be back in a few hours. After that little negative meditation, I'm going to run some cold water with a little bit of baking soda, and I'm going to slide my ass in there, and I'm just going, and I'm going to do all the watchamacoosies and whoosies and houses and jump arounds and everything in that tub. You know what I'm saying? Greg Wolf, what's good? You, man, most appreciated, family. And then after that, dry off, get myself together. No tea, no nothing, just sipping on the water and lemon. Come back, and I'm tired too, y'all. So, we'll get at it again, all right? Appreciate y'all.